Okay, Wade, we hit start on the show because we were going to get off into some wild tangent about Claude
That's right.
Code.
Yep.
But today, so I spent the last 2 hours, uh, 2 hours, yeah, 2 hours, started this 2 hours ago. Opened Claude Code on my computer, had a problem that I wanted to solve for our team, put the prompt in, connected the GitHub repo, got all that set up so it's ready to go,
Right.
and built the first model. Get it done. It was a WordPress plugin. So basically,
Okay.
we have a website that we use for all of our app tools, et cetera, for our team, clients. They all go there, and we kind of set that up separately from our normal website. But I I said build this as a WordPress plugin. So it builds the
Right.
plugin. I upload it. Doesn't work. I'm like, okay, like I'm a little bit down. I'm a little bummed. Go back into Claude Code. I tell it what it's not doing. It rebuilds it. I download it, deploy it, call my account manager up, and I'm like, hey, I need you to take, these pictures, upload them to the website, and then I need you to tell me what the output comes out. And it did it. And she's
Hmm.
like, she was over the moon. And I was too excited. Like I emailed her and then I'm like, no, I gotta call her and like get this done.
You got to
I
share in
am,
the joy. Yeah.
oh my gosh, I am so I don't know how to put this, but if you told me 3 months ago that I would be building stuff like this
Right.
with this capability, I think I would have said it's impossible. The
Right.
reality is that I feel like anything is possible at this point. This is just admin stuff, right? So this is just,
Right.
like, hey, we've got this problem. It's taking us 15 minutes a day to do it over 30 people. What's the time savings on a weekly basis?
Right.
And not only just the time savings, the frustration and the
Hmm.
tediousness of doing some of these things. It's
Right.
making it to where it's standardizing everything. It's coming out better, faster, cleaner. Like I can't get over it. And then yesterday, so this is another part of it, and I posted this on LinkedIn. We have all these applications from insurance carriers that are not fillable, right? So what I mean by that
Okay.
is you have to open up the PDF, you
Right.
have to click the markup tool, and then type over it as you're talking with the client. Some carriers have figured out that they need to be fillable, but not all of them. There's one particular application that we fill out probably 2 or 3 times a day across 30 people for EPLI coverage. It's not
Okay.
fillable. No one told me this until I sent an email to our team and I'm like, hey, look, start sending me stuff that you need, that you use on a daily basis, that
Yep.
you want improved. So I get one of these and I built a Claude tool and same thing. I drop it in. It doesn't, it even did this with a protected PDF, which is scary. It took the protected PDF,
Uh-huh.
stripped the wording out, right? Rebuilt
Okay.
it as an HTML page with
Oh yeah.
fillable, and then made it a
Yep.
clean PDF. And I'm just like, I could do this all day long. I can take carrier applications and just modify them, merge them, whatever I want. The data is not because none of this is hard anymore. I'm
Yep.
just, it's unlocking things I've never seen before. So as giddy as I am, I'm talking to a couple operators now that are getting ready to go do some drills and like all this fun stuff. I mean, it is providing time for me to like go research, go learn more. I don't think I can keep up learning, but that's on my side. On the oil and gas side, I can't even imagine like the things that you as a drilling engineer are looking at. So I wanted to kind of open up and be like, what are you trying? If I'm sure there's got to be a
Right.
lot to it, but like, what are some use cases that you might
Yeah.
see on your end of things? Because it's insane. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Local Energy. Please remember to like and subscribe to us here on YouTube or Spotify, or check us out at localenergy.com. All right, back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying just like, it's funny because I want it to be like, oh, that brings back memories, but those memories were literally like 3 months ago, and I think that's
Right.
the steepness of the slope that we're on right now. I mean, and even something like just last week when they went from Opus 4.5 to 4.6, I mean, it was just a huge change in
Mm-hmm.
the things that they did and how repeatable it is. But when I first started out, like I was using Claude Code, just like what you're talking about, and I'm kind of getting rid of my mundane tasks. One of them was just making PDF searchable, right? Like OCRing PDFs and doing some
Mm.
stuff like that. Because there's scripts out there that'll do it, and I was using Claude Code to kind of help run these scripts and set up a deal to where anybody could drop a PDF into a network folder. When that network folder gets that PDF, it scans it, OCRs it, saves it as now a searchable document, so that
Yep.
everybody else can kind of use it and play with it. But since then, I mean, what you're talking about, I've probably used Claude to write. I mean, I don't think I'm probably exaggerating whenever I say a couple 100,000 100,000 lines of code, and the
Yeah.
programs that we're building. I mean, right now it's analyzing data in near real time, whether that's frac data or even like mud reports and things like that. It is taking not only what's going on right now, it's comparing it with what has been happening on this well. It's comparing it with offset wells that we have data on, and then not only that, like the real value in it, and I think the analysis in it is that it's looking forward to what's going to happen next, or it's kind of saying like, hey, like here's what these next stages look like. Here's a similar stage in a similar stratigraphic level that we had earlier in the well, and here's what happened there. So you might be ready for either challenges, or we expect it to be smooth. And it's just doing this. It's gone from when I first started using it, was kind of transforming data, making it to where I could kind of use it. I could bring it into Excel, or I could do whatever I wanted with it. And now
Yeah.
I've built it to where it's doing a little bit more analysis. Now, the scary thing of that is, right, is that it's not always right. I would tell you, I don't always agree with what the consensus is on, either how we need to run our rigs, or I'm sure, I don't do much with frac, but on, probably how you'd flow back a well, or how
Uh-huh.
you'd frack a well. And so there's still, there's a big article going around on X right now about, like the software engineers and where they see it going. And I think there's a lot of that that's true. It is going to cost some jobs and all that. But I think at the end of the day, you have a really hard time replacing, I don't want to say decision making, but kind of that risk analysis, and where, you kind of fall as an individual or as a company in terms of risk analysis and everything. So it's super exciting. I'm 100% with you. I use Claude Code every day. I mean, it started out, I was kind of consulting, doing some of that, and you know the expectation was 15 to 20 hours a week, maybe, doing it. I got so into it. I want to say that I've freed up so much time, but honestly, I'm just using any extra time I have to to code stuff, to make programs that make me more efficient, or make me better, because I'm probably not exaggerating when I say I spend 40 to 50 hours a week right now. And this is not like work time. This is usually like nights and weekends. Just having an idea and building things. It's a huge dopamine hit for me. I mean, it really is. Like, I love that you can have an idea, and like you're saying, within, sometimes it depends on how complex it is, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm working on something right now that is super, super complex, and I've been probably working on it off and on for weeks now. But a lot of the other stuff, like, you can get an idea and have an 80% product within 30 minutes to an hour. And at that point, it's just what I like to do. That my personality is, I like to use it. And then I'm like, oh, well, I've got this idea. And I go back and I add to it, or
Hmm.
I'm using it. I'm like, there's a problem with it. You go back. So like that iterative process of deploying it, using it, changing it, like, it's never ending, which I think is also why it's taking so much time, or why I'm spending so much time with it. But the output of it's amazing. I mean, there was one day I had an idea. I was like, I just want to scrape all the data from the OCC website. Like, I want to be able to see every well within a 5 mile radius of wherever I'm about to drill, and I want a table automatically output of what their casing design was. And within 30 minutes, 80% there. It was
It's a,
it's mind blowing. It really is. It's crazy, the kind of growth. Now the funny thing is, let me get your opinion on this. Okay, so I got a question for you. So I'm reading X, and they're what they're talking about out there is, with AI right now. There's like, I mean, it feels like we're going through this exponential growth, right? Like, every ity is just getting better and better and better and better. Now, exponential growth can't continue indefinitely. It kind of feels like at the beginning of COVID, when they were doing all their projections for sickness and death. I mean, COVID was bad, right? But like the early projections I saw, I mean, literally on the news, were saying 75 to 90 million people. This was in March. They were like 75 to 90 million people will. Well, I mean, they literally said something like die, I think, by like May, June timeframe. And it was because of that exponential slope going up. It was very early. I feel like that's kind of where we are with AI. Like, we're still on that really exponential slope. The question for me is not, can it and kind of continue indefinitely? I don't think that's possible. Like, my question is, where's it going to level off, and what's going to be the bottleneck? Is it hardware? Is it energy? Is it just kind of, you've got the low hanging fruit, and now we're getting more and more complex, I guess. And so my question is, like, where do you feel about it? I mean, do you feel like, because you kind of feel like Just talking to you, like you're in this euphoria stage.
It's euphoric in the sense that able to now solve problems that I wasn't able to solve before.
Right.
So, like, I could effectively, I could create something like this for myself with an AI tool or a program
Hmm.
before, but I wasn't able to allow others to use it. So what I mean by that
Right.
is I could master how I was doing something, but the system couldn't be widely dispersed to my team. So there's that piece that I'm thinking about. That's why I'm euphoric is like I can now let other people partake in what I could like that's the part
Right.
that gets me going. And your mind starts to go through this sort of pattern where you're like, well, if I'm doing this job and other people are doing this job and there's maybe 1,000 other people that would use this as a product, you start to think, oh, well, if I sold it for $10, would people download it, right? And you
Right.
know, you kind of go to that, but then you start thinking, this is why this is an important thought. It sort of leads to nowhere because eventually the other people will be able to do the same thing, or they can already for the same cost, and it's their own thing. So
Right.
really, for me, it comes down to a question of adoption, right? So when I'm scrolling on X, I see all these people or potentially bots most likely that are saying like, "Oh, I'm building all this crazy software
Right.
and I'm able to achieve and I'm shipping things and there's going to be the first $1 billion company run by one person in their AI platform." It's like I kind of look at that like, you know, first of all, I think they're full of it. I don't think that that's actually going to occur. The reason behind it is more people are catching on to the fact that they can go do the same thing because
Right.
the entry point is the tool. So again, going
Right.
back to your bottleneck piece, we're I think on not the cutting edge necessarily, but we're pretty close to it where it's
Hmm.
like we're some of the first adopters. You and I, other people that might be listening to this, are some of the first adopters to build their own things and actually use the tool. I think there's people that build stuff and they go, "Oh, that was cool. I figured out how to vibe code something," right? And it's like,
Right.
sweet. Then they just kind of let it go. I'm actually using the stuff that I'm building. So it's going to keep getting better. And then my team is using it too, which I think is even cooler because I can have 32 employees and we've continued growing with those 32 employees because we've saved time and they're more efficient, right? That
Yep.
efficiency factor is huge. But if I talk to someone like my wife, she goes, "Well, like I told her what I built this morning and she was like, 'That's cool, babe. Like that's, you know,
Right.
that's really cool.'"
Oh yeah. I've
Doesn't
shown my wife
under
to. Yeah.
doesn't see where this what the inferences are. So,
Right.
in my opinion, and the reason why I'm personally bullish on energy is I think that's the bottleneck. Like I really am. I think that we're on an upswing with oil and gas. I think there's gonna be more activity for that because there needs to be. The demands are increasing. We had an interview last week with Julie Thompson, who was saying that that's like the number one thing is getting the energy. The chips are going to be an issue, obviously, right? That infrastructure needs to occur, but I think the adoption speed is going to plateau first, and then you're going to have this energy draw that doesn't really start to ramp up until that because like I think that goes up
Widespread
and then it
adoption.
plateaus, and
Yeah.
then there's a widespread piece, and I can see the same kind of concept with I mean, you look at crypto or any of this stuff, right? Or cell phones. Like, let's go to cell phone usage or internet adoption, right? It
Hmm.
was kind of it was kind of this super fast increase. It plateaued, and all of a sudden now, like the internet is like, you know, it's because of smartphones was like the next increase. So, like, what's that
Right.
next inflection point? I don't know, but I'm looking at this, and it's sort of it. Let me put it this way: I'm also a little scared of it because we had a leak. I'm just gonna go through that. We had a leak in our house, right? So,
Okay.
uh, woke up 6 o'clock in the morning, or go downstairs. Wife took a shower. I'm standing there in the kitchen pouring my cup of coffee, and there's water coming down from the ceiling, and I'm like, oh man. So
Right.
whatever. We shut the water off. I start doing some testing. It looks like it's just a simple thing. Plumber comes over. Okay, the plumber's not going to lose his job from AI, right? This is the conversation I had with
Right.
my wife yesterday. He was not going to lose his job, but I'm looking at my 6-year-old son, and I'm like, I mean, what is he going to be able to build, do, think? All these things are
Right.
different. Like learning a trade is great. But then if you look at the robotics that they're building right now too, the heart
Hmm.
surgeons, right? I don't know who went through this example, but if you had to get heart surgery done, okay, you have an option. You can choose the 32-year-old heart surgeon that's done 50 surgeries, or you can have this, and he's got a steady hand. Or you can you can get the 70-year-old surgeon that's done
Right.
3,000 heart surgeries, but maybe he's not as steady. Okay.
Right.
Who are you choosing, right? Which one would you go with? I'm curious.
That's a great question. I don't know. I couldn't answer that in no time. I mean,
Yeah.
what you'd want, right? What you'd want is the young guy holding the scalpel and the older guy running the show. You
Yep.
know, that's what you'd do.
If
That's
you
what you'd
if you
really
had to
want.
pick one, if you had to pick one, I'm going with the older guy, right? I'm going to pick the guy that's had more reps.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Then you introduce robotics, okay? And
Right.
robotics is not quite there yet, but
Right.
we're already where Claude is writing its own code.
Well, they already use it for the
uh
like laser surgeries and stuff, right? Like the bigger
right,
movements translate to the small movements, and like
right.
you're stepping towards that precipice there.
100%. But at some point, the robotics will not only have the steadiness of the younger surgeon, it will also have the knowledge of every other
Right.
heart surgery that's ever been done. So it starts to shift a lot of the work. But what does that all require? It still requires power. If you unplug the unit,
Right.
it's not working, right?
Right.
So I don't know. There's so much to this to unpack, and I'm like I have a notebook that I kind of write, and I just put down my AI thoughts because like I come
Right.
up with things and I'm like okay, this is what I'm thinking about it today because
Right.
it's interesting to see like the development since I started doing it in like October of last year, kind of where like my thoughts were, and like those are outdated. It's like that doesn't like the way I was thinking
Right.
about it's not the same as what I thought about, yesterday.
Yep.
So kind of like an AI journal. I would encourage anyone that's in this space to like kind of keep a note of like their thought process or like what it's doing because it's interesting to see that evolution. But I don't know if I answered your question. I think the
Yeah.
plateau, I think it's going to exponentially increase. Then it's going to plateau. Energy is going to have to ramp up, and then we're going to continue on the next phase of this. Which I don't know, man. I'm just hoping everyone's able to keep it together because it's incredible. I don't know what else to say.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely going to disrupt a lot, and it's going to, if it doesn't cost current jobs, it's kind of going to cost future jobs, right? Like, I mean, in the oil and gas sector, I'd say a lot of smaller companies, whenever you're looking to build something and exit, you want to cut that pie as into as few pieces as possible, right? So that you've made as much return as you possibly can. And so
Yeah,
I think these metrics of having huge companies and doing all this stuff. um, I don't know that that's what the future looks like. I think AI making, all of your A players that much more efficient just makes a more efficient and better company. And so it's going to be interesting to see what this does to the job market, not just in energy, but computer information systems. I mean, all these different things.
yeah.
It's probably not going to be as bad as what some people are saying, but it's definitely going to cost some careers for sure.
Our theme right now, I have a guy Bart that he's my developer on kind of like I just hand him things and I'm like, okay, can you go figure this out? So,
Yeah. Right.
and it's really cool the discussions I'm having with him. But our theme, the conversation we're having across everything right now is what is the job to be done, right? So
Right.
we've got these sort of elevated like I guess dreams of what we could do, but it's like what is the job to be done at the moment, right? Because
Right.
you have to take everything in step. You have to have a good filing system. There's still people too, like let's not forget human nature, right? Which is there's still people that are hard workers and will
Mhm.
do whatever they need to do to get the job done, and then you still have a lot of lazy people that aren't going
Right.
to work hard no matter what you do. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Some people look at AI like, oh, I'm just going to be able to sit back and it's going to bring me my food and it's all that stuff. Like it's going to know that I'm
Right.
hungry and it's going to DoorDash something for me. And it's like I look at it like it's a tool that I get to go utilize to keep building more. And I think if you don't have that mindset now,
Right.
I think you're in for a world of hurt because I
Oh,
mean it's
100%.
it's so. Anyways,
You're
I'm
gonna
I'm stoked. Yeah,
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's gonna make, your A players or your efficient people even more efficient. And like
yeah,
you gave an example this morning. I mean, like, it expanded your scope, right? Like, you were able to deploy something that benefited everyone in your company. And whether that's, just makes them a little bit more efficient or takes away a headache, either one of them, is great
yeah.
for the functioning of that company. And so, That's awesome. And then that's where I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, I've been building all this stuff and I've been using it internally and I've kind of shared, some of it's just reporting that with some AI analysis and stuff, but I'm really trying to find that like, how, how can I help other people adopt this, so that on a daily basis they're using it more and more, and it's helping them the same way it's helped me.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, it's there's that Pablo Picasso quote, which is learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist, right? So we got to stay on top of this stuff so that we can
Yeah,
actually build some cool stuff. So, anyways, I'm
that's right.
excited. I can't wait to see some of the things you're building when I come out and visit. Hopefully, I get to see you soon and just kind of check that
Yeah.
out. But like, there's something I'm just like, man, I don't want to share all this yet because I'm too like I don't know. I don't want someone to steal my idea. But anyways,
Well, then
it's
you better be careful what you're putting out there on GitHub then. If
yeah.
I put something out there, I built a chat GPT deal that integrates directly into Outlook. And
Okay.
so like every email I have, I could click like either draft a reply and it would kind of make a first response for me, or
Yeah.
analyze reply and it would look at mine, and I could talk to it that inside of inside of my email. So that way I'm not copying and pasting outside of chat and all that stuff all the time. And I put it out there on GitHub and I made sure to protect my keys and all that stuff, but I
Yeah.
accidentally made it a public deal, and, like, I noticed a few people downloaded it, and I was like, "Well, I don't like that they took it," but, at the same time, I made it public, and
Yeah.
it's kinda cool that somebody, looked at it and saw it and was like, "Oh, yeah, let's." Now they coulda
Yeah.
just been scraping stuff, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like, I've had to really expand my knowledge about, like, what's secure, how to secure keys, how to all the
Yeah.
different things, so
I'm not there yet. I haven't attached any APIs to anything yet.
I
I
got
just
you.
feel like I'm a little
Okay.
I will get there and I
Just
will give
Python
you
scripts and stuff? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, well,
Alright.
and when I get there, I'm gonna call you because that's definitely a consideration. It's like, speaking of,
Yeah.
have you seen OpenClaw, or have you seen what people are building with these Mac Minis? Like, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
this is
Oh, yeah. It
it
like,
is it
over Christmas, it was like it
yeah,
was the thing. Like, I was like,
yeah,
is this my feed just feeding me this? Or is
yeah,
this everybody,
yeah,
is this really everybody doing this? And it absolutely blew up. That's whenever it was kind of funny because I felt like about a month or 2 before that, like, or maybe it was even a few months before that, like, I was using Claude Code in a way that I was like, "This is game changing,"
mhm,
At least for me, it was. And I felt like that was becoming, that wide adoption was happening
yeah.
kind of over Christmas with Claudebot or OpenClaw, all the different iterations you've seen of. The other scary thing is just I didn't understand it enough to really like. I wanted to do it, but I didn't understand it enough to where I was like, like how secure is this, and then also how much is this going to cost? But I would love to be able to talk to my Claude Code and everything through Telegram or WhatsApp and be able to continue that process.
I am waiting for the first security breach, and this episode will come out the first week of March. At least I think
Okay.
that's when it's coming out.
Okay.
And I'm waiting for that first security breach to come through, and for everyone to be like, okay, we got to like pivot or hard pivot into this sort of security measure for it. Once they figure that out, I'll be a little more comfortable. But I literally considered buying it a phone, a Mac Mini, and just going all in on it. But I
I
can't, I couldn't commit.
I saw some posts of some guys who were kind of going through and kind of scraping a lot of data and information, I guess, and finding all the people who were running like OpenClaw or ClaudeBot or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
and pretty much had keys out there. I mean, there was a lot of stuff out there, and the bad thing is, I mean, whenever you do something like that. Now I know they're putting on the Mac Mini to try and kind of isolate it from a lot of their stuff, but at the same
yeah,
time, if it's got access to accounts and all that, there's going to be ways. And the crazy thing is now though is like as much as you want to use like AI and all this stuff to kind of help with our job function, all that stuff, like. I mean, hackers and everybody else, I mean, they're coming up with some pretty ingenious ways. Like when you embed essentially invisible instructions into an image or a PDF that only your AI can see, you open that PDF and you see nothing, but the PDF that your AI is reading is now, taking a prompt injection. Like
yep,
that's some kind of scary stuff for being able to, either do ransomware or whatever.
yeah.
It's getting much more sophisticated.
The cyber stuff is frightening. I mean, just sitting on the and just from the insurance conversation, it's like like
Oh
what are
yeah.
the bad actors able to do now? I mean, Gemini had an article today. Google put an article out today that they there was a couple groups setting up Gemini accounts and then running 100,000 prompts through it at once to try to understand the responses so that they could create the pattern and then duplicate Gemini's backend code.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's other ways that these like
They're like
there's
reverse
obviously value there.
engineering. Yeah.
Correct. And anyways, there's going to be a lot of that too. So yeah, proceed with caution, right? As with anything, right? But if you're not trying it and you're not in it, I don't know. I would be willing, if anyone reached out to me, I'd be willing to be like, hey, this is how you start, give you some guidance on it, because it is fascinating. And I think the more good people using it, the
Yeah.
more resilient it becomes. So
How are you using
all
Claude
good.
Code? Are you like using command line, or how are you using that?
I'm not that smart. I'm just I just talk to it like it's a human, like
Okay.
a
No, are
designer.
you talking
So
about
just
on
the
the web, like
reply,
through your
go
web
in there.
browser?
Yeah. No, I have it installed on my computer, so it
Okay.
all runs
All right. So
there.
you run it desktop.
I run it
Okay.
locally. Yeah. And I have
Does it have
my
access to all
machine
your
is like
files too that way?
I haven't set that up yet. I'm not. So here's the
Okay.
thing. I have a Windows computer, and the
Right.
only reason that I downloaded, so I was using it on the internet for a bit. The
Right.
reason that I installed this was because I was supposed to be able to get cowork now as a Windows user, but I have an ARM 64 device, and my computer choices were very poor at the time. But I needed a lot more RAM, and it was the cheapest way to get it. So
Okay.
anyways, yeah, no,
Gotcha.
I'm running it locally now, which is amazing. There's a lot of things that have evolved. And I'm not technically. This is the other part. Is like I'm good at web design, SEO, like all that. So like I've lived in
Okay.
HTML and building that out. But then you start getting, and I went through the Replit 100 Days of Python. So completed
Okay.
that probably a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And obviously now it doesn't really matter, but I know enough about it, but I'm
You
still
were
kind
getting
of learning
primed. Yeah.
different things. Like, yeah, like I'm trying to learn the code side more so that maybe I'm a little less in the dark. By no means am I think the level you're at, you're probably a few steps ahead, and I'm just like
Nah, I don't.
I'm still playing with like some conceptual things and trying to figure out like, is this a good idea? Like, I don't know.
I think
Anyways,
if I'm being
we'll
honest,
get
I
there.
think one of my advantages is, and maybe I'm speaking to myself or for myself. I think one of
Yeah,
my advantages is that I don't have a super strong like coding or C whatever, MIS, whatever background, because
yeah,
what that's forced me to do is to rely on it more, which guess what? Like it's the subject
it's
matter
pretty good.
expert, right? So I mean, all the time I throw it in plan mode and I'm like, and you just vision for it. Here's what
Yeah,
I'm wanting to do. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's the stuff I've built before. Like, what do you think would be the best way to do it? And now it's gotten so good. They've made the upgrades so good, that I mean, it's asking you like, well, are you comfortable with this? Or what do you think about this? And like, I'm just going back and forth with it before, the deployment phase, like before the building phase, just kind of helping to lay that groundwork. And I think to an extent that may be an advantage because like whenever I had a geosteering group over at Baker Hughes when I first started, right? Like you'd bring in these new guys and it was kind of funny because sometimes they'd ask this question that because you have this foundational level of knowledge, like you always just skipped past it. Like I had
mhm,
never really thought of that question before. And it seems really basic, but it makes me reevaluate so many things that I kind of hold as true or hold dear, and so I feel like I'm kind of like that newbie, of course, being able to use Claude Code because I just lean on it so much for guidance that I think it may be better than somebody who's like, I want to do this, I want to do it this way, da, 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 and it's just relying on it to just build code rather than actually architect an entire system. And so I'd like to think sometimes maybe my stupidity is a superpower in this case.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that thought too, because you get to, um, well, I always think through this too, and is never waste a good first time, right? So
Right,
the first time you do a job, you come across pieces of friction that you have never experienced before, right?
right,
So it doesn't matter whether you're, learning how to clean something different or working on a car or a piece of
right.
code or a new job. There's something that's going to come across your plate, and you're like, I'm on, like, this is just, it's really hard to get through this for me mentally. And what I've done with anything, so like within our company, my hope is that I get to sit in everyone's seat, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a new hire, I want to go through the new hiring process like a new hire, and I want to observe, and then I want to talk to the new hire and be like, hey, give me feedback on what was good, what was bad, how can we improve that? The reason you do that is very much like what you're saying. You're not, you may not, I'm not necessarily the subject matter expert on the hiring process, but when you uncover those friction points, you can sort of develop a solution for it. So
Right.
that's like a lot of these things is coming up because I'm doing the account manager job where I have to do paperwork for a week. These are the things I'm coming up with, and it's like, okay, I got to solve. I hate doing this part of the job. I want to
Right.
automate it. You fix it, but you're able to come in as a new person, and using Claude is kind of the same thing. Like, you kind of have this wild idea of like, here's the problem, and then it solves it for you, and then you have less friction. So I don't know.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff in this, and it's like, it's very, there's a lot of thoughts that I have been having about it. But anyways, it's
Right.
exciting nonetheless. So I
Well,
love
it is.
seeing what you're doing with it.
It's exciting. The downside, of course, to all of what I just said was that, whenever performance of it degrades, so do I. Like, I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I think there was a very real degradation in Opus 4.5 in the
Yeah.
weeks leading up to 4.6 release.
Right.
Whenever I was using it, it felt like there was a lot more errors. I was having to go back through and have it fix a lot of things that it wasn't errors it wasn't making before, and
Yeah.
so I really felt like that. It really kind of slapped me in the face my lack of what would just my lack of ability, whereas like
Yeah.
if you took a computer away from me, like I could still drill a well, right? Because like I know the math, I know how to calculate volumes, I know, what I mean, all those. Would I be as fast?
Right.
No, because I got to sit down and write it out and all that, but at the same time, like I could still do it, whereas with this, and I mean, like I was still moving forward, but it was taking so much longer because my tool it just wasn't as sharp, and then 4.6 hits and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it started iterating on itself. It was doing tons. I wasn't having to tell it to do error checking. It was going back and checking the changes it made, plus the changes it made in comparison to the previous changes to make sure that everything was working together. It's been amazing.
A lot of the stuff I've built hasn't been dependent on that necessarily, because a lot of what I have is like static code. So it's like,
Okay.
here's a plugin for a computer and a
Right.
tool to get the job done.
I
So
got you.
when you use it, it's like, unless the code breaks, um, it's going to keep
Right.
working, right? So my next step, and this is the fun part for me, is going to download all of the plugins that I've bought from other companies
Huh?
and understanding how they work, and then I can build tools that work
Uh,
around those.
yeah.
So you
That's why they
continue
say
using,
SaaS is dead, right?
I mean, we've already, so just this was last week, I sent a cancellation for a program that we were paying, I think it was $375 a month for, which
Right.
375 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but 375 a month for the function it was providing
Right.
was worth it. But we built a tool that was 100 times better for our
Hmm.
actual use case than what they could do, and that's okay. So you know what?
Right.
It'll continue to evolve, and if I'm wrong and we cancel something and my stuff breaks, it's on me. But we'll
Yep.
get there when we get there.
Well,
So
and I
can't
think
think that
that's
way.
because that's hilarious because that's one of the things I've really been debating lately. Is like I've been able to replace pieces of
Yeah,
software and stuff, and then it comes down to the end, and you're like, "But am I able to fix this if it breaks, or do I have the time
yeah,
to support this? Like this could be now a part of partially, a
yeah,
time sink every week is like if a user's having a problem, or if this corner case kind of crashes it or whatever, and so you've continually got
yeah,
that. But the other thing I really wondered when I first started doing that was like, what? So I think back in the day, 2 years ago, right? Like your patent really was your code, right? Like people couldn't like essentially just rip off your code and do the exact same thing. But now, like you're not ripping off the code. You're using AI to write code. You could be ripping
yeah,
off the idea, but your code is now unique. It's probably nothing like what they originally wrote in that software. And so my question was like, is there a gray area here? And where does that line fall? Because like you're talking about those people who
mm,
are trying to reverse engineer Google's LLM, like Like where's the line in being able to do something like that?
Well, if you read a lot of like SaaS, because I've had to do this
Right.
for years, like because we've all have, I think you have to read a SaaS contract, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of times in that contract, it will say that you cannot, reverse engineer our
Right.
code or
Right.
develop something that is similar in nature. But I've always looked at that and I've said, okay, first of all, I'm not smart enough to get to your code. I'm an end user who's going to use your platform.
Right.
In this particular case, it was a forms tool. Basically, how do
Uh-huh.
we have a client on board with us so that we
Right.
can move to the next step? And the only thing that was different about it, which was odd, was already done with probably 15 other software tools.
Right.
I just decided that I'm tired of paying $375 a month for it when I can just host it for $25 and call it a day. So I didn't rip anything off. Additionally,
Right.
I was like, there's 5 things that I've asked you guys to do, and I've put this into your requests. Nothing's happened over the past 3 years since we started
Oh yeah.
using it.
Yep.
And I just decided I'm just going to build it all now. So and it built it. So
Yep.
there's stuff like that that just kind of makes me, I don't know, man. I'm
Well, that
excited. I'm bullish. It's cool.
I'm
So
not saying it's wrong. Do not
yeah,
read into
no,
that.
no,
I'm
no.
just saying
Yeah, yeah,
what used to protect that company, right? Or that
yeah.
idea, whatever, was the execution, was the code. And now
The moat.
that's
It
gone.
was
It
their
feels like
moat.
the
Was
Wild
the ability
West.
to code. Yeah,
So,
it does.
yeah.
And yeah, we'll see where this goes. I'm excited. We'll have another conversation about this. Let's do it again in 30 days. So the other fun part about all this, I'm looking at our production schedule. Man, I've been thinking about the podcast, like where all this
Uh-huh.
is going for us. We're only 1,000 followers, so it's like
Right.
there's few people hearing us. It doesn't matter. But I'm enjoying the interviews. We're coming up on our 1 year of recording on
Really?
it's gonna be, yeah, we're coming up on our 1 year. It's not as far out because we record in advance. So
No,
within
that's
the
yeah.
next month we'll be recording that episode. But yeah, beginning of last week of April is when we started. So
Okay.
we're coming up on our year. I don't know, we'll have to do something fun for it. But anyways, I think we'll cut it off here. We've been rambling for 38 minutes, and I don't know
Yeah.
how many people are going to make it past the first 8. But
I was gonna, this might be a
thank
different
you.
demographic than normal.
Yeah, it might be different, but for everyone in oil and gas, thank you guys for being here. We're thankful to have the few of you who do listen on a regular basis. We appreciate your support. Wade, I'll see you again next week.
Good talk to you, Peter.